Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick update on my experience with the Samsung Galaxy Note 10.1 2014 edition. So far I'm really enjoying this tablet, and in my opinion it really does represent the best combination of hardware and software that I've ever seen to date. Samsung has made it pricey, however, and in my opinion you are paying for what you're getting. So this concept that it's too expensive, I don't necessarily agree with, because if you actually require any of the capability that the Note 10.1 2014 offers, then I think you'll be happy to have it as an option. So for $550, you can pick up the 16GB Wi-Fi version of this tablet. $600 will buy you double the amount of internal storage capacity. Keep in mind that it does have a micro SD card slot for expansion, but that's reserved to actual storage. You will not be able to install your applications there, at least at the onset, until this thing gets rooted and we see some custom ROMs, etc. Workarounds. Right now, the the micro SD card slot is strictly storage. Plan on that changing. We're working off of Jelly Bean, assured update to KitKat down the road. Of course, a TouchWiz environment. This is designed for those of you that really enjoy Samsung's Galaxy brand, specifically, of course, again, the Note brand. So if you're a Note or Note 2 user or even a Note 3 owner, Samsung has really tailored this to your liking. It is a mirror image of the Note 3, but in a 10.1-inch version with a far superior screen, unlike the previous gen where the Note 2 and Note 10.1 shared very similar screen resolution despite the stark contrast in size difference. This year, that's one of the major overhauls as well as design cue changes that Samsung has made on this brand new Note 10.1. So the display, a lot of people are going to feel it's playing catch up, but in my opinion, it does pretty much outperform all of the other 2560 by 1600 resolution LCDs that you're going to see. This is not an IPS display, it's a clear type LCD, and overall, again, in my opinion, it's just fantastic. I really don't have any complaints. It has the color saturation and pop of a Super AMOLED, but a more toned down color accuracy. So thus far, really liking the display. Don't feel it's a catch-up, but rather on par with top of the line, if not better than anything you're going to find in a tablet. Let's talk about the processor, because that's another area that I want to point out, because this tablet's been getting a lot of heat for, again, being, as I just mentioned 3 times, a catch-up device. But the processor, the Exynos 5 that's under there, the A15 chip, is a quad-core chip that does rank among, at least in terms of performance, the best in its class. It's right there with the Snapdragon 800. So there's no way anyone is going to knock this chip. In addition, it has another quad-core A7 chipset for when you're doing more low-powered activities, or really just to, again, address the fact that it is a multitasking beast, and that's just an added bonus. More hardware, whether you argue you need it or not, the idea is that Samsung has blessed you with it. And it is a good thing because, again, this is all about multitasking. This machine can really do a tremendous amount. In fact, it redefines, in my opinion, productivity from an Android tablet, or any tablet for that matter, because you won't find a tablet in this form factor, weight class of 500 plus grams, that is able to do everything that the Note 10.1 2014 edition is capable of. So a great processor, a great screen, and then we've also got an industry first of 3 gigs of RAM, which may sound like a bragging right or just another specification bump, but in reality, it directly addresses the fact that this is a multitasking device. And in fact, you could argue it could have done with 4 gigs of RAM. But the point is, again, you are paying more for getting more in terms of hardware. This is not a tablet for someone who's not interested in what's under the hood. I'll reserve that to your imagination in terms of what brand will take care of you in that regard. But when it comes to actually knowing what you're getting, Samsung has really built an impressive list here. The GPS has been very quick to lock thus far in my use with Maps, although limited, seems solid. Bluetooth, have not tested yet, so I can't comment on that. Battery life is solid, but charging time also is very slow. This does not surprise me. It's a giant battery. Keep in mind, if you're watching the battery drain here, that I do have screen brightness at the max setting. This is a really high-res screen. Max brightness does really pop, so it is a battery killer. And if you're looking to conserve battery, this isn't the way to do it. So don't mention do yourself a favor and don't bother commenting about battery drain, because this is only going to drain this way if you're actually running at max brightness all the time. Now, in terms of software, to complement that robust hardware feature set, which I didn't even get into the cameras, because I'll save that for later, because cameras really aren't everyone's primary goal with the tablet. But the S Pen integration and the actual TouchWiz user interface, that's a big area of contention, because while the S Pen defines the Note experience and really does a beautiful job here, in my opinion, love how they repositioned the actual S Pen, or redesigned it. I feel it's more tactile, more natural now, but more importantly, you don't have to worry about how you're actually inserting it into the S Pen holder, the slot that's located right there. And that applies to the Note 3 as well. That's not something specific just to the Note 10.1 2014, so that's definitely a big improvement. But all the software that they've added, I mean, we have the traditional hover capability, but now the Air Command, where you've got the pen window as well as S Finder, Screen Write, the Scrapbooker, and then the Action Memo. All of these things are great additions and really demonstrate how any manufacturer, if they invest the time, money, effort in the Android platform, can really make it their own. You're not going to find another tablet like this on the market. Samsung has integrated a lot of different perks, as they call it, which are really just consolation prizes for picking up or investing in the Note 10.1, and you can see a list of them right here. They're saying over 600 in perks. You can see I'm using the hover feature right now, which isn't new to this. You can find that on the original Note 2 as well as the 10.1. The hover feature was there. That's where it was introduced, but it has been developed more. And I will be demonstrating that as I go through a full review with this. But in terms of these perks, I mean, a $25 Play Store credit. You also get a $50 credit to Samsung's own hub store. You then get free trials to just about every digital service you could imagine, whether we're talking about Hulu or Wi-Fi access, Dropbox, New York Times, Bloomberg. So this is really out of the box, ready to offer you all of these services. I won't forget Zinio or Audible. It really is a feature-rich content tablet, and it's all about using it for those purposes. They've added this extra resolution in the display, which, as I pointed out, a lot of people wanted to see the first go-around in the Note 10.1, but you've got it now. So there's really nothing to complain about. Hardware is right in line with what I expected in terms of being best in the marketplace, unmatched. Will there undoubtedly be tablets down the road that catch up with this, even outspec it? Probably, but the fact that this is dubbed Samsung's 2014 edition really does say everything. They don't plan on updating this or anyone trumping it anytime soon. Now, in terms of the actual software, relatively sparse out of the box, and that's impressive. By that I mean applications. You can see we've got a single page of applications. Coming from Samsung, that's sort of unheard of. So a lot of people are saying that the TouchWiz environment, the bloatware that comes out of the box, is heavy. Now, I have to argue when it comes to software, it's not heavy. In fact, Samsung's really providing you again with added value, whether it's Polaris Office or a whole host of different variety of applications. I mean, the New York Times is sitting there because, again, you do get, I believe, a 12-week free subscription. So that's definitely a nice bonus. You're not going to find that with any other tablet. I mentioned all the other perks. Those are the type of things you want to see integrated into a tablet out of the box rather than having to always go into your wallet. So Samsung really wants you to use this to its full capacity and get the most out of your experience. And I think that's important. The hard buttons, another area of contention. Some people love them, some people hate them. If you are a Galaxy user, then you're already accustomed to your back, home, and menu button. Of course, the stylus does work with all of these, and overall, it does a good job. The home button, it does not. You have to actually physically, that was a press I did. I don't want to confuse anyone. Now I've brought up one of Samsung's brand new redesigns for the Note 10.1 2014, which is based on, basically it's an aggregate for all of your content, whether we're talking about news, social networking, whatever it may be, it's brought into this feed. And you can then bring up whatever article you want to read, and essentially just go ahead and read it. There's only 2 pages here, so not a tremendous amount of content, but you can gain access to this anytime you want by simply swiping up, and that's how I did it before. You can see it can be done with the S Pen. You can also, of course, do it with your finger, and it really just gives you very quick access to all of the content you could possibly want to have tied into your tablet. So this is a very promising application. I haven't spent enough time with it yet to give any full impressions. Here we're getting a Groupon offer, but this is one area where multiple reviews have claimed it's just unusable. It gets in its own way. The lag that this brings to the table isn't worth the hassle. Of course, I'll give you my opinion once I've spent more time with it, but I want to talk about web browsing. That has been very nice thus far. You can see this is the stock keyboard that Samsung integrates into their browser that they've added on. The WebKit browser they've customized. They do also include Chrome. You may have noticed that in the app drawer. I'll jump over to CNN. Just a couple of tests. I am running where I always am in relation to my router, nowhere near. And you can see performance is pretty good. I'm going to put down the S Pen for a moment, show you some pinch to zoom action. It's really responsive. I know this test is totally meaningless, but we all do it, and there's a reason. It's because it does demonstrate the real-time fluidity of the response. So overall, really like what this can do so far. If I go ahead and bring up a little bit of video. The Digital Digest. I'll go ahead and do a little Google search. Go to the channel. Going to jump into the YouTube application for that. And let's go ahead and take a look at the unboxing that I just put up recently. Here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing of the Samsung Galaxy Note 10.1 2014 edition. This is the successor to the original Galaxy Note 10.1, which I covered in the past, arguably. Let's go ahead and jump ahead. Samsung has joined many other companies, much like I see with Sony, listening to customers. Make sure I've got volume up for you guys. Customers are looking for in enhancements and improvements on their original product. Even if something is a great success at launch, it doesn't mean, of course, that you can't improve upon it. So here we've got the Note 10.1. Again, very similar looking to the original, but on the right-hand side, we've got our micro SD card slot, another speaker, and our S. So here's what I can tell you. Viewing video on this tablet is a pleasure. The screen resolution certainly helps. Whether or not you're going to feel there's a tremendous difference between this and 1080p really depends on your vision and seeing them in person, quite frankly. But again, video performance on this is great. I haven't seen a single hiccup. Everything that I've thrown at it thus far, it plays. Of course, you'll need to use a third-party player like MX Player, and then you should be able to play back anything you want. But having things like the New York Times, all of these free bonus applications, the idea here really is simple. They want to get you hooked, clearly. It's a consumption device. Samsung wants to make that really clear. That's why you've got all of these added bonuses. It's not because they're simply being kind. They want to condition you in the same way that Apple customers have been conditioned. That's what the TouchWiz environment is all about. It's not just to give you bloatware to slow down the device. They want to bring a brand, a differentiated product line to the table. Of course, the Note line is the top of the line. Not to sound ridiculous here, using line over and over again, but that is the case. The Note is the flagship, and it represents the best of the best Samsung has to offer. And you are getting it here in hardware and software. All of this stuff has been developed from the ground up by Samsung. Toshiba has made a digitized, Tegra 4-based tablet, also in the same price range, which I would say is definitely expensive considering Toshiba's doing it for the first time, whereas Samsung is a proven winner in this department already. The Note line of phones has really demonstrated that if people were ever going to be interested in a stylus-enabled environment, Samsung has hit it out of the park. In terms of pricing, I don't think it's for everyone, but as I mentioned earlier in this video, if you actually desire the option, the fact that you can get it for such a small premium in comparison to things like the base iPad or other $500 tablets, the fact that $50 more buys you so much more functionality really is far more compelling, in my opinion, as a value than any argument against it being actually pricey, if that makes any sense. Of course, it will come down in price. That's another thing that you should anticipate, but not so steeply. When you look at something like the original Note 10.1, pricing has stayed pretty firm. It's still at $450. Yes, you can find refurbs or sales that were in the $300 to $400 range, but for a product that's over a year old, it has stayed pretty firm. So expect the same here. If you can get it on sale, don't really hesitate if you want it. Don't think that it's going to go down a lot in price. This isn't going to be a Black Friday special, in my opinion, because it's latest and greatest, and that's not what holiday savings are all about. They're not on the latest tablets. Although this did launch here in the month of October, so there's a little bit of padding, but really not enough, in my opinion, to see any kind of significant drop. Maybe $50. Right now, Amazon is still selling this with a $50 gift card. I highly recommend purchasing it through Amazon. I'll include a link in the description as usual. But overall, performance really solid. Jump to another website. A little bit of ESPN here. I figured it would populate it there automatically, but it didn't. And I mean, overall, the performance has just been great. I'll sound like a broken record all day long because when you combine fantastic hardware and robust software, you usually get a good result. Now, this isn't perfect. It has its moments. In my full review, I'll get to those because I'll have spent more time with it. But overall, right now, everything just works really well. I haven't seen a tablet that could outperform this. And when it comes to the extra functionality, that's where things get a little bit wild. Because overall, you're not going to find anything like this. You can purchase a lot of different third-party apps to try to do what Samsung does in this package, but you're not going to accomplish it at the end of the day. And that's what really differentiates this. Now, TouchWiz does get a bad rap for really slowing down many devices, not just this one in particular. In my opinion, the benefits outweigh the cons in this situation. There's no question that if this was stock running a vanilla form of Android, would it be one of the highest benchmarking devices on the marketplace right now? Absolutely. Would it have the identity, though, the selling point, the marketing capability? No, it wouldn't, and that's why it's not a Nexus device, it's a Galaxy device. So I think that's something we often have to be reminded of, which is somewhat silly but true. If this were a Nexus device, it would be marketed as such. Now, Samsung did make the last Nexus 10. This is going to draw a lot of comparisons to that tablet because it's far less expensive, manufactured by Samsung, same resolution screen in that same class, but everything about this tablet is in another league over the Nexus 10. If you don't need any of these additional features, granted, go pick up a Nexus 10. It's a great tablet. I reviewed it. I liked it. I owned it. But if you're in the business of getting the latest and greatest, if you need to have the multitasking capability that the Note 10.1 2014 brings to the table, there's nothing else like it on the market. Again, keep in mind, if you've been watching that battery, brightness is all the way up through the entire course of this now almost 19-minute video. So that isn't because the battery is just draining at a crazy rate. It's a result of screen brightness. But overall, I really like everything this tablet brings to the table, and design is just spot on. They've taken the time to mature, to create a more complete product. We see that in things like the change of the actual S Pen. We see that in the specifications really rounding out. You can't really find anything to complain about on this tablet, although there are some things I haven't gotten to yet. But overall, out of the box, this is a really tough tablet to dislike, even at its price point, which, yes, is an expensive one, but overall matches its feature set well. And the speaker performance, you saw it a little bit earlier. They switched it from front firing to side mounted. I think it still is pretty solid despite the relocation. I would like to see it put out a little bit more volume, but overall it's still pretty good. I wouldn't really say that it's in any way subpar. So that's definitely a good thing for the Note 10.1 2014. This metal finish around the side, which is really plastic, I'm pretty sure, is a nice touch. It definitely adds to the flair of the design of this tablet. And the backside, I am a fan of this new redesign, the facelift. Even though I'm not so sure what they were going for with the faux leather stitch, since it clearly is still a polycarbonate or just a straight up plastic, the grippy texture that it provides, as well as the lack of fingerprint magnet, is just an added bonus to this redesign. Also, a much more solid build, I'll say that. Again, I've only spent a day with this bad boy, but in that amount of time, it's a sturdier product. I'm not feeling any flex at any point. No build quality problems, no dead pixels, no backlight bleed. So right now, my biggest complaint in this 21-minute video is really the time that it takes to charge. And that's really not a big deal. This is the type of device you should be plugging in overnight if you are really a productivity user that is hammering this thing on a daily basis. But for college students, grad students, any professional that's looking for a tablet that is truly blurring the line between a computer and a traditional tablet, this is the one, folks. This is the first tablet I can say without any hesitation it's going to take on Windows machines. Of course, hybrid Windows 8 devices that are coming out that are in this form factor really are going to be more flexible. They're also going to be more expensive, and they will not integrate the same quality digitizer experience you're going to get from the Note lineup. So overall, right now, really liking this tablet. Yes, it's expensive, but it's not for someone who's looking to buy a $500 iPad. I think Samsung knows that, and you should too. This is all about buying into Samsung's TouchWiz environment and the brand they have built and become so popular on the back of. So love it or hate it, TouchWiz is the selling point here, and overall, again, I do believe the benefits of what it brings to the table, what Samsung has made for this Jelly Bean overlay, outweigh any performance lag that really I have not seen a lot of yet in my experience. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.